The cathedral was full. 400 people. Candles burning. A string quartet playing something soft. The kind of wedding that gets photographed for magazines. Jihoon stood at the altar in a black suit. No tie. His hands were at his sides. His face gave nothing away. Yuna was already crying. Happy tears. She'd been planning this moment since she was 19 years old. The officiant cleared his throat and opened his book. Jihoon raised one hand. The man stopped. The music stopped. The room went so quiet you could hear the candles. Yuna looked at Jihoon. Her smile started to slide. What are you doing? He didn't answer her. He turned and looked toward the back of the cathedral. 400 heads turned with him. Amara was sitting in the last pew on the left. Black dress. Hair pulled back. She looked like she wasn't sure she was supposed to be there. Jihoon's voice came out calm and even, the way it always did. Amara, come forward. The room didn't make a sound. Yuna's mother grabbed her husband's arm. Amara stood up slowly. She smoothed her dress. She started walking. The walk was long. The aisle felt like it stretched a mile. Every single person in that cathedral watched her move. Some of them knew who she was. Most of them didn't. All of them understood, in that animal way people understand things before anyone explains it, that something was about to happen that could not be undone. Yuna watched her walk the entire way. Her bouquet started shaking. Amara stopped a few feet from the altar. She looked at Jihoon. He looked at her. 1 second. 2. Then he looked at Yuna. 3 months ago, he said, you walked up to this woman at the Kwan Holdings gala. You told the people standing next to you that she looked like she wandered in from the wrong event. He paused. You said it loud enough that she could hear you. You meant her to. Yuna opened her mouth. I'm not finished, Jihoon said. She closed it. I watched the footage. All of it. He let that land. You smiled after she walked away. You came back to my side and you put your hand on my arm and you smiled at me too. He looked at his arm, like he was remembering the feeling of it. I didn't say anything that night. I've been thinking about why. The room was barely breathing. I think I was waiting to see who you really were. He looked up at her. Now I know. Yuna's voice came out sharp and low. Jihoon, this is our wedding. I know what it is. Whatever she told you. She didn't tell me anything. His voice didn't rise. It never rose. I told you. I watched the footage. Yuna looked at Amara. Something hot and ugly moved across her face. She doesn't belong here. She's here because I asked her to be. He looked at Amara again. Briefly, something quiet passing between them. Then back to Yuna. You're going to apologize to her. Right now? In front of everyone. The silence that followed was the kind that has weight. Yuna laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. You cannot be serious. Or, Jihoon said, you walk out of this cathedral. Tonight. And every arrangement our families have, every agreement, every contract, every alliance, I dissolve it. All of it. By Monday. Yuna's father stood up. Jihoon looked at him. Just looked. The man sat back down. Yuna was shaking now. Not from sadness. From something else entirely. She looked at Amara one more time. Amara didn't look away. She didn't lean in or cross her arms or do anything. She just stood there, steady, like she'd made peace with however this ended. Yuna's jaw tightened. And then, slowly, she lowered herself into a bow. The room exhaled. Like and subscribe for more cinematic stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Before we continue, I'm curious about something. Are you watching this alone? Or is someone sitting next to you right now? And where in the world are you watching from tonight? Tell me in the comments. Welcome to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. Now rewind. 6 months earlier. Seoul in October is cold and gray and loud in a way that Atlanta never prepared Amara Collins for. She'd been in the city 11 days when she first walked into the Kwan Holdings building. She had a portfolio under her arm, a coffee she hadn't finished, and a meeting with a project director named Mr. Bay about the lobby redesign her firm had been contracted to handle. She was good at her job. She knew that. She'd earned this contract on her work, not her connections, which mattered to her more than she usually admitted out loud. The building was all glass and stone, cold in an expensive way, the kind of place where everything is perfect and nothing is warm. She signed in at the front desk, rode the elevator to the 14th floor, walked into a conference room where 6 men in identical gray suits were already seated. Mr. Bay introduced her. She shook hands around the table. She set up her presentation. She started talking. She was 4 minutes in when the door opened. She didn't stop. She kept talking, kept clicking through her slides, kept pointing at load-bearing decisions she'd made and why she'd made them. The man who walked in didn't sit. He stood near the back wall with his hands in his pockets and watched her presentation like he was watching something on television. Like he had nowhere better to be, but also wasn't particularly invested. She finished her slide. She looked up. He was already looking at her. The south-facing wall, he said. You've got it as glass. Yes. Change it to stone. She looked at him for a second. The glass brings in light from the plaza. It connects the interior to the street. That's intentional. It's also a security issue. I was told security specs would come from your facilities team. They will, he said. I'm telling you now as a courtesy. She looked at him a beat longer than was comfortable. I'll review it when I have the specs in writing. Something moved across his face. Not irritation. Something closer to interest. He nodded once, pushed off the wall, and left. Mr. Bay leaned over and said quietly, "That was Mr. Kwan." Amara looked at the door he'd walked out of. Which Mr. Kwan? The only one that matters. If you're already hooked, drop a comment and tell me. What do you think Ji-hoon was feeling in that room? Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV so you don't miss it. She looked him up that night. Sitting on the floor of her serviced apartment with takeout she couldn't name, she typed his name into her phone. Ji-hoon Kwan. The results came back fast. Forbes. Bloomberg. A profile in a Korean business magazine that someone had translated badly into English. CEO of Kwan Holdings at 32. Youngest in the company's history. Father died 2 years ago. No siblings. Nope. 3 weeks into the project, she was at the site late. Past 9. The crew he always brought coffee. She always pretended she wasn't expecting it. He always wore a hard hat. A black one, which she was certain he'd had custom made, because it fit too perfectly to be a standard site issue. They talked about the building, then about other things. His father, her family in Atlanta, what Seoul was like in winter, what Atlanta was like in summer, what it felt like to be responsible for something bigger than yourself. He never touched her. He never said anything that could be called romantic. But there was something happening in that building that both of them understood and neither of them named. Until the night she dropped her plans, and he picked them up and their hands were in the same place at the same time, and he didn't move his, and she didn't move hers, and they stayed like that for 3 full seconds before she pulled back and stood up straight and said, "I should pack up," in a voice that came out steadier than she felt. He stood up too. Yeah. They walked to the elevator. They rode down without talking. In the lobby, he held the door for her. Outside on the street, they stopped. "I should tell you something," he said. The air was cold. She could see her breath. "I'm engaged," he said. She looked at him. She didn't say anything. "It was arranged. Before my father died." "I haven't," he stopped. Started again. "It's not something I chose." She nodded slowly. "Once." "Okay. I'm telling you because I know why you're telling me." She pulled her bag up on her shoulder. "Good night, Ji-hoon." She walked to the corner and got into a cab. He stood on the sidewalk and watched it pull away. "Okay. Stop everything. Did he handle that right? Or did he wait too long to tell her? Drop your honest opinion in the comments. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. It gets heavier from here. She didn't come to the site Thursday. He came anyway. Sat on the planks with 2 coffees. Worked on his phone. Left at 11. Put her coffee on the stack of lumber where she usually sat. She found it Friday morning when the crew came in. Stone cold. She stood there looking at it for a second. Then she threw it in the trash and got to work. She avoided him for 9 days. Not dramatically. She didn't change her schedule or reroute her commute. She just made sure she was never at the site after hours. She answered his facilities team's emails within the hour, professionally, no extra words. She went to dinner with colleagues from her firm. She called her mother in Atlanta on a Tuesday night and told her the project was going well, and Seoul was beautiful, and everything was fine. Her mother said, "You sound tired." "I'm okay, Amara." "I'm okay, Mama." She got off the phone and sat by the window and watched the street below for a while. Seoul at night was lit up orange and white. People moving everywhere, even at midnight. She'd learned to find that comforting, the constant motion of a city that never fully stopped. Her laptop was open on the table behind her. She had work to do. She went back to it. On the 10th day, he walked into the site at 2 in the afternoon. Full crew working. Noise everywhere. He came in through the main entrance in his suit, no hard hat, and walked directly to where she was standing with 2 of her contractors going over a ceiling diagram. He stopped a few feet away and waited. She finished the sentence she was in the middle of. Then she looked at him. "Give me a minute," she said to her contractors. They stepped away. She walked toward Ji-hoon. "You can't just walk in here during work hours. I've been thinking about what I said." "Ji-hoon, I should have told you earlier." He said it straight. "No performance. I kept telling myself there was nothing to tell. That we were just talking. That it wasn't, he stopped. I was lying to myself, and I let it go on too long. That wasn't fair to you. She looked at him for a moment. Around them the crew was working, power tools running, someone calling measurements across the floor. Nobody was paying them attention. Or everyone was. Hard to tell. What do you want me to do with that? She said. Nothing. I just needed to say it. She looked at him a second longer. Then she turned and walked back to her contractors. She didn't look back. He stood there another moment. Then he left. That night she was at the site until midnight. She told herself it was because of the east wall measurements. Which was true. But she also didn't leave when the measurements were done. He didn't come. She packed up her things at 12:15, rode the elevator down, walked through the lobby, pushed through the front door into the cold. He was standing outside on the sidewalk. She stopped. He had 2 coffees. He held one out. She looked at it. Then at him. This is a problem, she said. I know. I don't do complicated. I know that too. You're engaged. Yes. She took the coffee. She held it in both hands because it was cold outside and she needed something to do with them. What are you doing, Jihoon? He was quiet for a second. Then he said, I don't know. I've spent my whole life knowing exactly what I was doing and why. He looked at the building behind her. I come here and I sit with you, and I feel like a person instead of a— he stopped. Chose a different word. Instead of a function. She listened to that. That's not a good enough reason, she said. I know. You need to figure out your situation. I know. She started walking toward the corner. He walked with her. They went a block without talking. The street was wet from earlier rain. Their reflections moved in the puddles under the streetlights. If you were free, she said, not looking at him. Completely free. No arrangement, no family, no obligation. What would you do? He didn't hesitate. This. Exactly this. Walking with you. She looked at the pavement. I'd want to know everything about you, he said. I'd want to sit in that building with you every Thursday until it was finished, and then find another building after that. He paused. I'd want to meet your people. Take you somewhere you've never been. Fight about something small, and figure it out. Another pause. I'd want all of it. She stopped walking. He stopped too. They were standing under a streetlight. A cab went past. Someone on a scooter. The city moving around them the way it always did. She looked at him for a long time. He let her look. Figure out your situation, she said quietly. She got into a cab at the corner. He watched it go. He called Sung Jin at 12:40 from the back seat of his own car. Sung Jin answered on the second ring. He always answered on the second ring. The Shin arrangement, Ji-hoon said. What about it? What does it actually cost me to end it? Silence on the line. Not surprised silence. Sung Jin had been waiting for this call for a while. Politically, the Shin family pulls out of 3 infrastructure bids. We lose the Incheon contract. Your uncle causes problems at the next board meeting. Money. 8, maybe 9 months of slower growth. Nothing we can't absorb. Ji-hoon looked out the window at the city going past. And Yuna, he said. She gets the settlement her family negotiated when the arrangement was made. She walks away clean. He nodded slowly. To himself. Set up a meeting with the Shin family. Next week. Sung Jin was quiet for a second. You're sure? Set it up. He ended the call. Leaned his head back against the seat. Closed his eyes. For the first time in 2 years, he felt like something was moving in the right direction. He didn't tell Amara. Not yet. He wanted it done first. He didn't want to offer her something he hadn't delivered. So he went to the site on Thursday, like always. She was there. She handed him a hard hat without saying anything. He put it on. They walked the east wall together, and she showed him what her team had done that week, and he asked questions, and she answered them. And at some point they were standing very close looking at the same blueprint, and neither of them moved apart. You doing anything Sunday? She said. Still looking at the blueprint. No. There's a market in Insadong. I keep meaning to go. She glanced at him sideways. You probably know every stall owner personally. I've never been. She looked at him. You've never been to Insadong Market. I don't usually have time for markets. She looked back at the blueprint. Sunday, 10 o'clock. He nodded. I'll wear something less. You're fine, she said. Come as you are. Listen, that Sunday in Insadong is where everything changed. And I need you in the comments. Are you Team Ji-hoon right now, or are you still on guard? Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. It gets real from here. Insadong on a Sunday morning was everything Seoul kept hidden during the week. Narrow streets packed with people. Food stalls sending smoke into the cold air. Colors everywhere. Painted ceramics, silk scarves, handmade paper in shades Amara didn't have names for. Street performers. Children running. Old women selling things from blankets on the ground. Ji-hoon showed up at 10 in dark jeans and a gray coat. No suit. He looked almost like a regular person. Almost. Amara was already there, standing outside a tea shop with her hands wrapped around a paper cup. She looked at him when he walked up. Looked him up and down once. You own that coat, she said. What does that mean? It means it's clearly custom made, and you still can't dress down. He looked at her. She had on an oversized rust-colored jacket, jeans, boots with a small heel, a bag across her body. She looked completely at ease in a way he realized he almost never felt in public. You look good, he said. Simple. Direct. She didn't deflect it. Thank you. She started walking. Come on. They went through the market slowly. She stopped at everything. Picked things up. Asked vendors questions in broken Korean that made them smile and answer in careful English. She bought a small ceramic bowl painted with blue fish. She held it up for him to look at. For my apartment, she said. It needs things in it. You've been here 2 months. I know. I hate unpacking. It makes it feel permanent. He looked at her. Is that bad? Permanent. She put the bowl in her bag. Depends on the place. They kept walking. He bought her a hotdog from a street stall because she stopped and stared at the vendor's griddle for 10 seconds with an expression he was starting to recognize as her version of wanting something badly, but not saying so. She took it, bit into it. Hot sugar syrup ran down her fingers. She made a sound that was completely unguarded, pure reaction, and looked at him wide-eyed. What is that? Cinnamon. Brown sugar. Nuts. I've walked past these every day for 2 months. I know. You keep walking. She looked at him. You've seen me walk past these? He said nothing, which meant yes. She looked back at the hotdog. Took another bite. He watched her eat it with an expression he wasn't controlling carefully enough. She caught him. He looked away. Ji-hoon. Look at me. He did. She held the hotdog out to him. An offering. Something small. He took a bite. She watched him chew. They were standing in the middle of a crowded market on a Sunday morning, close enough that their arms were touching, and neither of them moved apart. Tell me something nobody knows about you, she said. He thought about it. Really thought about it, which she noticed. I wanted to be an architect. She went still. What? When I was 17. Before my father decided otherwise. He looked at the stalls around them. I used to draw buildings. Floor plans. Spent a whole summer designing a house I was never going to build. She stared at him. You're telling me that you... Yes. And then you hired an architecture firm. Yes. And then you walked into that conference room. Yes. She laughed. A real one. Sudden and full. He watched it happen with something on his face that he didn't bother hiding. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, she said. They walked the rest of the market without filling every silence. That was the thing about being with her. The quiet wasn't uncomfortable. It was just quiet. At the end of the market, there was a small stone bridge over a narrow canal. They stopped on it and leaned on the railing and looked at the water. It was nearly noon. The morning had gone somewhere without them noticing. Can I ask you something? She said. Yes. The engagement. Have you done anything about it? He looked at the water. I have a meeting set up. With her family. Next week. She processed that. What kind of meeting? The kind that ends things. She was quiet for a moment. You don't have to do that for me. I told you before. I'm not doing it only for you. He turned and looked at her directly. I'm doing it because it's wrong to stay in it. It's been wrong for 2 years. I just needed... He stopped. What? A reason that was strong enough. He held her gaze. I found one. She looked at him for a long moment. The water moved below them. Someone behind them on the bridge laughed at something. She turned back to the railing. Looked at the canal. He watched her profile. Okay, she said softly. That was all. Just okay. But the way she said it meant something larger than the word. He turned back to the water too. Their hands were 2 inches apart on the railing. He moved his and covered hers. She didn't pull away. They stood there like that while the city moved around them. The meeting with the Shin family was set for the following Thursday at 6. Ji-hoon was in his office at 5:50, jacket on, ready to go, when Sungjin walked in and closed the door behind him. Problem, Sungjin said. Ji-hoon looked at him. Yuna knows. Ji-hoon set his pen down. What does she know? About the architect. Your visits to the site. Incidong. Sungjin paused. She has photos. Ji-hoon was still for a moment. From who? Someone on your detail? She's been paying them for 2 months. The room was quiet. Ji-hoon straightened his jacket. Does she know about tonight's meeting? Not yet. But if she finds out before you get there. She won't. He picked up his phone. Called a car. He walked out. The Shin family meeting lasted 40 minutes. Ji-hoon said what needed to be said. Clean. No aggression. The settlement offer was fair, more than fair. Yuna's father was cold, but not surprised. Her mother didn't speak. The family lawyer took notes. At the end, Mr. Shin looked across the table and said, "Is this about the American woman?" Ji-hoon looked at him. "This is about a marriage that neither of us wanted, and both of us pretended otherwise for too long." He stood. "The offer stands for 72 hours. He left. Yuna was waiting in his apartment when he got home. She was sitting in the living room with her coat still on. No tears. No shaking. Her face was controlled in a way that told him she'd been sitting there rehearsing. He walked in. Stood near the door. Didn't sit. "How long?" she said. Tonight was the first formal step. "How long have you been planning it?" "A few weeks." She nodded slowly, like she was confirming something she already knew. "Because of her. Because of a lot of things." "Don't do that." Her voice was sharp for a second. Then she pulled it back. "Don't make it bigger than it is. This is about her." He didn't argue. "She has nothing to do with who you are, Yuna, or how I feel about this arrangement. But she has everything to do with why you're ending it now." He said nothing. Yuna stood up. She smoothed her coat. She picked up her bag. She walked to the door and stopped next to him. This close, he could see that her composure was costing her something. "You'll regret this," she said. "Maybe." She left. He stood in his apartment alone. Looked at the room. The city outside the window, all lit up, indifferent. He took out his phone and typed one message to Amara. "It's done." 3 seconds later she replied. "How do you feel?" He looked at the question. Sat down on the couch. Looked at the ceiling. He typed back, like something finally moved. "It's done. But done never stays done." Drop a comment. Did Yuna leave too quietly? Because I don't trust it. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV. Next part is where everything breaks open. 3 weeks passed. Good weeks. Quiet ones. The kind that feel borrowed. Ji-hoon and Amara didn't make announcements. They didn't post anything. They didn't have a conversation where they defined what they were. They just kept showing up for each other in small, consistent ways that added up to something neither of them had named yet, but both of them understood. He started learning her schedule without meaning to. She got to the site by 7:30. She took lunch at her desk, usually something from the Pojangmaka 2 blocks over that she'd discovered in her 3rd week, and returned to every day like a loyal customer. She left late. Always. She started learning his too. He didn't eat breakfast. He answered emails between 5 and 6 in the morning before anyone else was awake. He carried tension in his jaw when something at work was wrong, and the way to tell was to watch whether he was chewing on the inside of his cheek. He did that when he was processing something he hadn't figured out yet. He walked into Ji-hoon's office on a Friday morning, closed the door, and sat down across the desk with the expression he used when he had information that required sitting down. "The Shin family declined the settlement," he said. Ji-hoon looked up. "What?" "Yesterday evening. Mr. Shin called the lawyers. Said Yuna won't sign." He set a folder on the desk. "And they've retained new counsel." Ji-hoon opened the folder. "Read the first page." His jaw tightened once. "She's contesting the arrangement terms. She's saying the arrangement constitutes a binding contract. That ending it unilaterally without cause is a breach." Sungjin paused. "Her lawyers are good. This could take months." Ji-hoon closed the folder. Set it down. Looked at the wall. "There's something else," Sungjin said. Ji-hoon looked at him. "The Kwan Holdings charity gala is in 3 weeks. Your uncle has already confirmed you and Yuna as joint hosts." He paused. He didn't know about the meeting with the Shins. He does now. He's furious. He's calling it a destabilization of the family's political relationships. Sungjin looked at him carefully. "He wants a meeting. Set it up." Ji-hoon. Sungjin rarely used his name without a title. He used it now. "Your uncle has 3 board seats. If he moves against you, he won't." "You sound very certain." "Because I know what he's done with those board seats for the last 6 years, and I have documentation of all of it." Ji-hoon straightened the folder on his desk. Set up the meeting. Sungjin stood. Picked up his jacket. Stopped at the door. "The gala. Are you going to take her?" Ji-hoon was already reading something else. "No." "Good. Not because I won't." He looked up. "Because she doesn't need to be in the middle of this yet." Sungjin nodded. Left. Ji-hoon didn't tell Amara about the legal situation. He told himself it was because it would resolve quickly, that his lawyers would handle it, that there was no reason to put it on her. But the real reason, and he knew it, even if he didn't say it, was that telling her meant admitting that Yuna wasn't gone, that the thing he'd promised was done wasn't fully done, and he wasn't ready to have that conversation. So he didn't. The gala was a Friday night. Black tie. The Grand Hyatt Ballroom, 700 guests. Ji-hoon went with Sung-jin. He worked the room the way he always did, efficient, present, brief with everyone. Yuna arrived at 8:15. She came in through the main entrance in a red gown. Alone. She walked straight into the room like she owned it, which in a social sense she still did. People came to her. She smiled. She moved through the crowd beautifully. She was there 40 minutes before she found Ji-hoon near the bar. She didn't make a scene. She touched his arm and said quietly, "We should talk. Soon. Before this gets uglier." She looked at him with something almost like sadness. "I don't want to fight you, Ji-hoon. I just don't want to disappear." He looked at her. "You're not disappearing. You're being released." She flinched. Small. Fast. Then it was gone. That's a cruel way to put it. It's accurate. She pulled her hand from his arm. Smoothed her gown. "Enjoy your evening." She walked away. He watched her go. Somewhere across the room a door opened and Amara walked in. His whole body registered it before his mind did. She was there representing her firm. He hadn't known she was coming. She didn't know he was there either. He watched her scan the room with the casual alertness she always had in new spaces. Navy dress. Hair down. Her project director from the firm was with her. Their eyes met across the room. She gave him the smallest nod. He gave one back. They stayed on opposite sides of the ballroom the entire night. Professional. Careful. No one would have connected them. He was at the bar when Sung-jin appeared at his shoulder. "She's talking to Yuna." Ji-hoon turned. Across the room, Yuna had positioned herself next to Amara at the edge of the cocktail area. Amara's project director had been pulled away by someone else. It was just the two of them. Ji-hoon set his glass down. "I need you to stay right here. Don't move. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV right now because next part is the moment everything in this story breaks. You do not want to miss it." Yuna started with a smile. That was the thing about her. She always started with a smile. It was the kind of smile that looked warm from a distance and felt like a closed door up close. "You're with the architectural firm," she said. In English. Perfectly. "The lobby project." Amara turned to look at her. She'd never met Yuna before. She didn't know who she was looking at. "That's right. I'm Yuna Shin." She extended her hand. Ji-hoon's fiancée. Amara shook it. Kept her face steady. "Amara Collins." Yuna tilted her head slightly, like she was studying something. "American." "Yes." "Atlanta, I heard." She said it the way people say things they already know to see how you react to being known. "How are you finding Seoul?" "I like it a lot. It takes some adjusting. For people from certain places." She smiled again. "The social landscape here is quite specific. People have histories with each other. Relationships that go back generations." She glanced around the room casually. "It can be difficult for outsiders to read." Amara looked at her. "I manage." "I'm sure you do." Yuna took a sip of champagne. Looked at Amara over the rim. "It's a beautiful lobby, by the way. What I've seen of it. Very ambitious." "Thank you." Ji-hoon has always had interesting taste. She said it lightly, like a compliment with a floor missing underneath it. "In architecture. A beat. Among other things." Amara said nothing. Yuna turned slightly toward the socialite standing to her left, a woman in her 50s with a rigid posture and expensive jewelry. She said something in Korean. Fast. Low. The kind of fast that's designed to feel exclusive. Amara's Korean was still developing. She caught maybe a third of it. Enough. Yuna said the building's design was interesting for someone with her background. She said the firm must have been looking for a certain kind of diversity. And then she said, not loudly, but not quietly either, that Amara looked like she'd come in through the wrong entrance. The woman with the jewelry smiled behind her glass. Amara stood very still. She looked at the side of Yuna's face. Yuna turned back as if suddenly remembering she was there. "I'm sorry," Yuna said in English. "Right. I was just saying how impressive it is. For someone so young to lead a project of this scale." Amara looked at her for one long second. Then she picked up her drink from the cocktail table beside her. "Have a good evening," she said. Quiet. Level. She walked away. Straight back. Head up. She crossed the ballroom without looking at anyone. She found her project director near the entrance and said she had an early morning. He offered to stay. She said no. "Go enjoy yourself." She was fine. She got her coat from the attendant. She walked out through the main doors. Outside the air was cold. She stood on the steps for a moment. Breathed. Then she walked to the corner and got into a cab. Ji-hoon crossed the ballroom in under a minute. He stopped next to Yuna. She turned to him with the smile still in place. He looked at her for a moment. Then he walked away. He went to the entrance. Amara's coat check was already gone. The doors were closed. He stood there for a second. Then he looked at Sung Jin, who had followed him over. Give me the ballroom security footage. Tonight. Sung Jin pulled out his phone. Ji-hoon watched it in the back of his car on the drive home. Sung Jin had pulled it from the ballroom's internal system inside 20 minutes. 3 angles. Ji-hoon watched all 3. He watched Yuna position herself. Watched her extend her hand with a smile. Watched her turn to the woman beside her and speak. He didn't have audio. Sung Jin was quiet for a long time. Then, this is either the smartest thing you've ever done or book it. He ended the call. Stood at the window a while longer. The city didn't care. It just kept moving, all light and noise and indifference. He went to his desk, opened his laptop, started writing. He booked the wedding. Not to go through with it. To finish it, in front of everyone who was there when it started. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV right now. Next scene is the calm before everything breaks. You need to be there. He didn't tell Amara about the wedding. Not the booking. Not the plan. Not any of it. He told himself it was because the plan required silence to work. That if Yuna heard anything, if anyone heard anything, the whole thing collapsed. He needed every person in that cathedral to believe it was real until the moment it wasn't. That was the practical reason. The real reason was simpler and harder to say. He wasn't sure she'd let him do it. And he needed to do it. The invitations went out on a Monday. Sung Jin handled it personally. No outside vendor. No email chain. Physical invitations, hand-delivered by Ji-hoon's own staff. Every family head. Every board member. Both families complete. 400 people. Yuna received hers on Tuesday morning. Sung Jin reported that she'd called 3 times before noon. Ji-hoon didn't take the calls. She sent a message through her lawyer that said she was prepared to negotiate the settlement terms. He had his lawyer reply that the wedding date was set, and he looked forward to seeing the Shin family there. Her lawyer called back within the hour. Sung Jin said the man sounded confused. Good. Yuna came to his office on Wednesday. His assistant tried to stop her. She walked past him, knocked once, and opened the door. Ji-hoon was on a call. He looked up, held up one finger, finished the call, put the phone down. She stood in front of his desk in a cream coat, hair perfect, holding her bag with both hands. She looked like she hadn't slept well. She looked like she wasn't going to say that. Sit down, he said. I'll stand. He leaned back in his chair. Waited. You sent the invitations, she said. Yes. So you're actually doing this? Yes. She looked at him. Why? If you want out, take the settlement and get out. Why the wedding? He looked at her steadily. Because of the gala. She blinked. Once. That's what this is about. Partly. Ji-hoon. She set her bag down on the chair beside her. Leaned forward slightly. Whatever you think you saw on that footage. I know what I saw. She's an employee of a contracted firm. I was making conversation. You told a room full of people she wandered in through the wrong entrance. Yuna's jaw tightened. I was speaking Korean. She doesn't. She understood enough. He picked up his pen. Set it down. And even if she hadn't. I did. She straightened up. Something shifted in her face. The performance dropped for just a second. 1 second. And underneath it was something raw and tired and genuinely hurt. Then it came back up. I've spent 6 years preparing to be your wife, she said. I know. 6 years, Ji-hoon. My entire adult life has been organized around this. I know that too. And I'm sorry for it. Genuinely. He looked at her. But you don't love me. And I don't love you. And what you did to that woman at the gala told me everything I needed to know about what kind of marriage this would be. She picked up her bag. You're going to humiliate me. I'm going to end something that should have ended years ago. In front of the people who started it. He held her gaze. If that feels like humiliation, that's between you and your conscience. She walked to the door. Stopped. Her hand on the frame. Her back to him. She won't stay, Yuna said quietly. Whatever you think you're building with her. People like her don't stay. He said nothing. She left. 2 days before the wedding, Ji-hoon went to the site. The lobby was nearly finished. Marble floors sealed. The south wall, stone on the lower half, glass on the upper, catching the afternoon light exactly the way Amara had said it would. The ceiling installation was done. The space was starting to feel like something real. Amara was there alone, walking the floor with her plans, the way she had the very first night he'd found her here. He stood at the entrance and watched her for a moment. She turned and saw him. Hey, she said. Hey. She looked at him. Something in the way he was standing made her fold her plans. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Ji-hoon. He walked into the lobby, looked at the south wall, the light coming through exactly as designed. You were right about this. She watched him. The wall. You were right. I was wrong. It's better this way. She came and stood beside him. They both looked at it. The light on the marble. The way the street outside was visible but softened. Present without being exposed. The building's almost done, she said. I know. Another 3 weeks, maybe 4. She paused. Then I'll start wrapping up. The firm has a debrief process. Probably another month after that. He looked at her. And then, she met his eyes. That depends on a lot of things. Like what? She held his gaze. Like whether the things I stayed for are still here. He turned to face her fully. I need to tell you something. She waited. I need you to trust me for 2 more days. She looked at him carefully. That's a strange thing to say. I know. What happens in 2 days? Something gets finished. He held her gaze. I need you to come somewhere with me. Saturday morning. Early. Where? I can't tell you yet. She looked at him for a long time. Long enough that he felt it. She was reading him the way she read blueprints. Looking for what was structural and what was decoration, what held weight and what was surface. Are you going to do something stupid? She said. Probably. Are you going to be okay? Yes. Is it going to be over? Whatever it is. After Saturday. Yes, he said. That I can promise you. She looked at the wall. The light. The city visible through the glass. Okay, she said. Okay. She looked back at him. 2 days. Then it better be done. He nodded. He almost reached for her hand. He didn't. Not yet. There's one more thing. She waited. Whatever happens Saturday. Whatever you see. I need you to know that I see you. He said it straight. The way he said everything that mattered. I see exactly who you are. And there is nothing in that room on Saturday that changes that. She looked at him. What room? She said. He said nothing. She shook her head slowly. Looked at the floor. Look back up. You are the most impossible man I have ever met in my life. I know. 2 days, she said. 2 days. She went back to her plans. He stood in the lobby a while longer. Looked at what she'd built. The light doing exactly what she said it would. The space exactly what she'd promised it could be. Then he put his hands in his pockets and walked out. Friday night he sat in his apartment and didn't sleep. He went through it. Every step. Every possible response. Yuna's father standing up. He'd look at him and he'd sit down. His uncle making noise from the 3rd row. One look. The lawyers would have nothing to work with because he wasn't breaching anything. The arrangement was already in legal dispute. He was simply choosing to end it in person rather than through paperwork. He'd thought of everything. Almost everything. The one thing he hadn't planned for was how Amara would look walking down that aisle toward him. Not to marry him. Just to stand beside him. To be there in the room where someone had decided she didn't belong. He thought about that for a long time. At 4 in the morning, he sent her one message. Where's something you feel like yourself in? She replied 7 minutes later. Go to sleep, Ji-hoon. He put the phone down. Almost smiled. He didn't sleep. But he was ready. For 100 people. One room. And Amara walking down that aisle not knowing what she's walking into. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV right now. Next part is the one you came for. It's time. The cathedral was full by 9:30. St. Catherine's. Stone walls. High ceilings. Candles burning in rows along both sides of the aisle. The kind of building that made everything feel permanent. Ji-hoon arrived at 9. Walked the space once, alone, before anyone came in. Stood at the altar and looked at the empty pews. Listened to the quiet. Sung-jin found him there. Stood beside him without speaking for a moment. She's coming, Ji-hoon said. Car is 10 minutes out. Yuna. Already in the prep room with her family. Sung-jin paused. Her father brought 2 lawyers. Let them sit wherever they want. Sung-jin looked at him sideways. You sleep at all? No. You look like it. I'm fine. Sung-jin straightened his jacket. For the record, I think this is either going to be the thing that fixes everything or the thing that burns it all down. I know. And you're doing it anyway. Ji-hoon looked at the altar. The candles. The empty space. Some things need a room, he said. You can't do them through lawyers. Sung-jin nodded once. Went to take his position. The guests filled in slowly, then all at once the way crowds always do. Ji-hoon stood at the altar and watched them come. His uncle took the 3rd row on the right, exactly as predicted. The Shin family filled the left side, for rows deep. Board members. Family heads. People who had known his father. People who had built things with his father's name and expected to keep building with his. He looked at all of them. Calm. Present. The string quartet started. Something soft. The room settled. Yuna came in through the side entrance at the front of the cathedral. She was in white. Of course she was. Full gown, cathedral length, everything perfect. She looked extraordinary. She knew it. She walked to the altar with her chin up and her hands steady around her bouquet, and she stood across from Ji-hoon and looked at him with something in her eyes that was not quite hope and not quite surrender. He looked at her. He didn't look away. The officiant opened his book. The room went still. Amara's car pulled up outside at 9:58. She sat in the back seat for a moment. Black dress, hair down, her hands in her lap. She looked at the cathedral through the window. Stone steps, heavy doors, people in formal clothes going in. She had no idea what was inside. Ji-hoon had texted her the address at 7 that morning. One line. Trust me. Nothing else. She got out of the car, walked up the steps, pulled open the heavy door. The music was already playing. The cathedral was full. She slipped into the last pew on the left side, the way you do when you arrive somewhere late and don't know the room. She kept her coat on. She looked toward the front. She saw the altar. She saw Yuna in white. She saw Ji-hoon. She understood immediately what she was looking at. Her whole body went still. Not the kind of still that is peaceful. The kind that is a decision being made in real time. She did not leave. The officiant began the opening words. Ji-hoon raised his hand. The man stopped mid-sentence. The music stopped. 400 people held their breath. Yuna looked at Ji-hoon. Her bouquet tightened in her hands. What are you doing? She said. Low. Just for him. He didn't answer her. He turned and looked at the back of the cathedral. At Amara. She was already looking at him. Still in the last pew. Still in her coat. Her face completely unreadable. Amara. His voice carried perfectly in the stone room. Come forward. She stood up. She didn't rush. She smoothed her dress. She stepped out of the pew. And she walked. The aisle was long. Every head turned. 400 people watching a woman in a black dress walk toward an altar that wasn't hers, in a room she hadn't been invited to, toward a man who had asked her to trust him and hadn't told her why. She walked like she owned the ground under her feet. When she reached the altar, she stopped. Looked at Ji-hoon. He looked at her. 1 second. Something passed between them that the room couldn't hear. Then he turned to face the congregation. 3 months ago, he said, this woman attended the Kwan Holdings charity gala as a representative of her firm. His voice was even. No performance. Just facts delivered with weight. Someone at that event approached her, told the people around them that she looked like she wandered in through the wrong entrance. He paused. That person is standing at this altar with me today. The room made no sound. Yuna's knuckles went white around her bouquet. I watched the footage, Ji-hoon said. All of it. I watched it the same night it happened, and I said nothing. He looked at the congregation, at his uncle, at the Shin family, at every person who had built their expectations around this morning. I've spent my entire life letting things I should have stopped continue. Business arrangements, family decisions, situations I knew were wrong that I allowed to go on because the cost of stopping them felt too high. He let that sit. The cost of stopping this one, he said, is whatever it is. I'll pay it. He turned to Yuna. You're going to apologize to her, he said. Here, right now, in front of every person in this room who matters to you. He didn't raise his voice. Or you walk out of this cathedral tonight with nothing. No settlement. No alliance. No agreement. I pull everything. Tonight. Yuna's father stood up. Ji-hoon looked at him. Just looked. The man sat down. The room was absolutely silent. Yuna looked at Amara. Her jaw was tight. Her eyes were bright. Everything she'd built toward this morning, 6 years of it, was in the room with her, and it was all watching. Amara looked back at her. Steady. Still. Like she'd decided somewhere on that long walk down the aisle that however this ended, she was going to be standing up straight when it did. Yuna's mother reached for her arm. Yuna pulled away. She looked at Amara one more time. And then, slowly, in front of 400 people, in her white gown, with her bouquet still in her hands, she lowered herself into a full formal bow. The room exhaled like one body. Ji-hoon nodded once. He turned to Amara. She was looking at him. Her face was not relieved. It was not triumphant. It was something quieter than both of those things. Like someone who had been carrying something heavy for a long time and had just been allowed to set it down. He held out his hand. She looked at it. Then at him. Then she took it. He walked her back down the aisle. Slow. Every eye in the cathedral on them. He didn't look at anyone. He looked at the door at the end of the aisle, and he walked toward it, and she walked beside him. They pushed through the heavy doors together. Outside the air was cold and bright. The city moving the way it always did. Indifferent. Continuous. Alive. She stopped on the steps. Let go of his hand. Turned and looked at him. He looked back. You booked a wedding, she said. Yes. To end an engagement. Yes. In front of 400 people. Approximately. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at the cathedral doors behind them, at the city around them, at the steps under her feet, like she was making sure all of it was real. Ji-hoon. If you ever do something like this again without telling me, I won't. I will walk off that construction site and not come back. I know. She looked at him. Do you? Yes. She held his gaze. He held hers. The cold air between them. The city behind them both. Okay, she said. She started down the steps. He fell into step beside her. They were halfway down when his phone went off. He glanced at it. His uncle. He put it back in his pocket. Your phone, she said. I know. You should probably. Later. She looked at him sideways. How many people do you think are calling you right now? Several. And you're going to ignore all of them. For the next hour, yes. She looked forward. Almost smiled. Where are we going? He thought about it. There's a market in Insadong. She stopped walking. He stopped too. She looked at him. The almost smile becoming a real one. Sudden. Unguarded. The same one from the first time that he'd watched and then looked away from because he wasn't ready for it. He was ready now. It's not Sunday, she said. No. The good stalls only open on Sunday. I know. So we'd just be walking around. Yes. She looked at him one more moment. Then she started walking again. He walked with her. Behind them, the cathedral doors opened. Voices spilled out. His phone went off again. The city noise rose around them. Horns, wind, the low, constant hum of a place that never stopped moving. Neither of them looked back. They were 2 blocks away when her steps slowed. He noticed. He slowed with her. She stopped at the corner. He stopped beside her. She was looking at something across the street. He followed her gaze. Nothing there. Just a storefront. A couple walking past. Ordinary Saturday morning. What? He said. She didn't answer right away. Then, she's not done. He looked at her. Yuna. She said the name plainly. No heat in it. Just clarity. That bow was for the room. Not for me. She looked at him. You know that. He held her gaze. Yes. So what happens now? Now she decides whether to fight or walk away clean. And if she fights, then I fight back. Amara looked at him steadily. With me in the middle. No. His voice was certain. Never in the middle. Beside me. If you want to be. She looked at him for a long time. The corner. The city moving around them. Everything still unsettled. The lawyers, the board, his uncle's missed calls stacking up on his phone. None of it resolved. All of it waiting. I'm not easy, she said. I need you to know that. I don't disappear when things get hard. I don't go quiet. If something's wrong, I'm going to say it. I know. You say that now. I know who you are, Amara. I knew in that conference room. He looked at her straight. I don't want easy. I never have. She held his gaze. Then her phone went off. She looked at it. An unknown Korean number. She held it up to show him. His jaw tightened slightly. Don't answer it. Is it her? Don't answer it. She looked at the screen. Let it ring. It stopped. 3 seconds later, it started again. She looked at him. He looked at her. Ji-hoon, she said quietly. What did you not tell me? The phone kept ringing. He looked at it. Then at her. And in his face, for the first time since she'd known him, she saw something that was not control. Not certainty. Not the careful blankness he wore like a second suit. She saw something that looked like the beginning of a cost he hadn't finished calculating. There's something else, he said. The phone rang. The city moved. The cathedral was 2 blocks behind them, full of people and consequences and everything that came next. And whatever he was about to say, whatever was still coming, was already on its way. Like and subscribe to Afro-Korean Confessions TV right now. Drop a comment and tell me, what do you think Ji-hoon is hiding? What's on that phone? Because this story is not over. Not even close. Hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when part 2 drops. We're just getting started.